Hey guys, you click that link down below. You're wanting to know about sources of water for houses here in the Woodland Park, Teller County, and Pikes Peak region. So stay tuned to the end and I'll explain as much as possible about this. Hey guys, really quick before we get in this video, I just want to say if you haven't done so already, hit that subscription button down below and that notification bell. What that does is it keeps you updated on every new video that we have come out on this channel, and we're putting at least 2 out a week that explain both living here within this area as well as things to do and events. So please make sure you do that, hit that subscription button, hit that notification bell. If you've got any questions whatsoever about this video, any other video, or anything you would like to see, or any comments you have, please don't hesitate. Give me a call, shoot me a text, 719-266-2725. You can also email me at info@jdmret.net, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. Okay guys, we're talking about sources of water for homes here in the Teller County, or the Woodland Park, Teller County, and Pikes Peak region. And I'm going to start off with the most basic one first that everybody's probably the most familiar with, and that's your municipal or city water. We do have the ability for that to be gotten within the Woodland Park area, Cripple Creek area, the city municipals within those. And we have some hybrid areas out there too that we'll talk about a little bit later. Once I get to the well section at the end of that, I'll discuss those. But those city limits are going to have that municipal water. It's going to be like living in any city that you've probably ever lived in. They'll meter your water just like any other utility that's coming in there. They're responsible for making sure it's clean and it's potable when it comes in, and it's something that you pay for on a monthly basis with a water bill. Now, the next most common one that we're going to see out here in this area are wells. And wells are a unique item in and of themselves. First, I'm just going to briefly go over exactly what happens when a well gets dug so you can kind of understand a little bit about what I'm coming from when I get into some of these other areas. So wells out here are not being dug down to a water table. We do not have a water table here in Colorado. They come out with water witchers, which I thought was crazy when I first saw this, and I was like, somebody's pulling my leg on this, right? But you can Google it and you can find videos where these folks are out there doing it. They've got their rods and they're out there and they're walking that property and they're looking for where that rod's going to pull them down, and that's where the well's going to be dug or drilled, and their hopes of finding water out there. And normally they find water. They're pretty good at it, but it's not a guaranteed thing. And they're going to have to go 400 to 600 feet sometimes just to get down to that water. And we don't know what kind of flow rate those are going to have on there. So it's important for you to know that. It's also important for you to know that if you're looking for land out here and you're considering getting a well drilled, you're looking anywhere usually from $40 to $60, sometimes even $80,000, depending on the property, how accessible it is, how far they've got to dig down, and you're not guaranteed to actually hit water. Like I said, it's not common for them to miss and not hit water, but it is a possibility, and it's super important for you to know this as well while you're considering that, because it is a risk whenever you're looking at buying land. But we have other options for you too, if that's not something you want to do, which are cisterns, and that'll be the last thing we talk about. So that's the process of getting these. Oh, and by the way, it takes about 8 to 12 months right now just to get on that list. That's once you get on the list to get the permit and to get the driller out there to actually do it. So it's going to be probably one of your most lengthy processes is getting that well drilled, let alone getting the home built or anything else out there. So just food for thought on that. So some wells will produce much slower than other wells. The maximum a well can produce in Colorado is 15 gallons per minute. That's what's allowed for one residence. But a lot of wells are producing less than a gallon per minute, and some produce 2.2 gallons per minute. When you're looking at large homes, that's a problem. So when we have wells that look like they're low producers, or it looks like a potential for that, I'm always advising buyers to make sure they do a well flow test with a well professional. Now what they'll do is they'll actually drain the reserves. So from the static water level all the way down to where there's no more static water in there, and it's literally feeding from where the drill hit water down by the pump. And they will measure how much water, how fast it's coming out of the hose once they've drained that water down to that pump. And they'll be able to tell you exactly what your gallons per minute are during that. Now, this is important because your static level, so if they dig down, let's say 500 feet, your static level is at 200 feet, you've got 300 feet of water from that static level. Now, the professional well guys are going to be able to get out there and they're going to be able to tell you approximately what that looks like for the amount of time you have before you deplete your reserves with that gallons per minute and how it replenishes itself, so that you know if you got a large family get together, a large family over, how much water you have, and if you can handle that, your well can handle that. They'll be able to give you all that information on there. And it's a science, and it's not a guaranteed, because you never know if we have a dry year with a drought, that could affect your well. If we have a year that's got a lot of water, a lot of rain like this year, that could affect the well also, depending on where that well actually hits the water sometimes. Now, if they're deep enough, it really doesn't matter a lot of times, and wells can run dry. That is a possibility. Not very common, but it does happen out here too. Very important for you to remember this. So with that static level, things that people can do to augment that as well is they can add cisterns to their system, to where it'll either be in the basement of a home, or it could be dug in the ground, to where all that, when they're not using the well to capacity, it's filling up these cisterns, and it's providing more of a reserve for when they do have that high use time with the well. This is something also that you'll see done, or they can have a pump truck or water truck come in if they've got like a big family get together coming over. The well's not able to, fill those up in time. They can load those cisterns up with water, so they don't have to worry about water while families are visiting and all that stuff. So that's something to look at as well. But those are your wells out here. You can get it tested for bacteria and all kinds of stuff up here also. It's not hard to do out there. It's a bottle of water that gets run down to the El Paso County Health. Some loans require, VA loans require that a well sample be taken. So just be prepared for that as well when you're looking at wells. But just things to look at when you're actually considering buying a home with a well on it. Wells are probably the most common types of homes off of these city systems up here. Now, we do have hybrid systems out here as well with some of these neighborhoods. Highland Lake, Spring Valley, there's other neighborhoods too that have these community wells that produce more than 6 or 15 gallons per minute, that service the entire neighborhood or certain pockets of that neighborhood with an infrastructured piping that goes to each home that gets metered and they pay for each month. So it's kind of a hybrid system in between the two on there, and they usually are paying a whole lot, like 10 to 20 bucks a month is typically what most folks are paying on those. Those systems are required to report because it's a community system now. It's commercialized. They're required to report quarterly to the county health department with their samples or water samples, where they're testing them for bacteria, any kind of things that could cause harm or make the water unpotable, and they are publicly required to show those records on the county page as well. So something to think about also with that. Now, the last type of water supply system that we see pretty frequently out here is the cistern. We talked a little bit about that already, which is supplementing a well. Some homes out here will not have a well at all, either because they couldn't hit water, they didn't want to deal with trying to hit water, they didn't want to pay for a well, and they just wanted to pay for a cistern instead, or that community restricts it and does not allow it. Rainbow Valley does that. Also, now cisterns don't need to be a red flag to folks. A lot of times it is, they see that and they think, oh my gosh, I've got to have water brought out, it's going to be crazy. It's not that expensive. We've got water trucks that you can get onto schedules that'll bring water out to you and put water in those, so it really gets as transparent as possible, and it almost seems like you're on a city water system at that point as well. Rainbow Valley is a little bit different of a case, because what they do is they've actually got within their HOA fees, it pays for that. Each month they get a certain amount, each home can get a certain amount of water. Anything above that, they'll pay extra for, not a whole lot, but they will pay extra for that if they actually use more water than that. And they're usually cisterns, like I said, are dug below the frost level, so they're underground. They'll have a pipe coming up that they can come by and they can fill the water into, or it's inside of a crawl space or downstairs in the basement where it's been heated and insulated down there as well. They don't have to worry about it freezing. So those are our primary sources of water here within the Teller County and the Woodland Park and Pikes Peak region. I hope this answered as many questions as possible for you guys. Once again, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscription button down below, hit that notification bell too. It'll keep you notified on all the new videos that come out each week. Go back, watch some of the old ones too, but we do give updated videos at least 2 a week on there. And if you've got any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to call or text me at 719-266-2725, or you can email me at info@jdmret.net. I would love to be able to answer any of these questions for you, and I would love to be your local real estate expert. I'll see you next time.